Tonight, we're diving deep into an unforgettable true story. A story about a brave black officer, a tiny life almost lost, and a twist of fate so powerful, it could only be destiny. This isn't just about heroes. It's about the everyday strength, sacrifice, and incredible connections that bind us. Get ready, because what you're about to hear will make you believe in miracles, and in the profound strength that lies within us all. The biting wind howled through the desolate streets of Detroit's East Side, a cruel symphony to the silent despair that often settled in its forgotten corners. It was a brutal January night, the kind that made you pull your coat tighter and wonder if the cold could seep into your bones. Officer James Thompson, a veteran on the force, gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white against the chill. He'd seen it all in his years on these streets: the flickering neon signs of liquor stores, the boarded-up windows of abandoned homes, the shadows that danced with forgotten dreams. Tonight felt heavier, though, a thick blanket of ice and silence that seemed to press down on everything. He was deep into his routine patrol, the hum of the cruiser a familiar comfort in the vast emptiness. Suddenly, a sound sliced through the stillness, a faint, high-pitched cry. James's first thought was a stray cat, perhaps caught in the frozen alleyways. He almost dismissed it, the logical part of his mind telling him to keep moving, to stick to the script. But something else, a deeper, almost primal instinct, tugged at him. He heard it again, clearer this time, a tiny whimper that defied the harsh landscape. It wasn't a cat. It was a sound that twisted his gut, a sound that spoke of pure, unadulterated vulnerability. Against his better judgment, James pulled the cruiser over, the tires crunching on the icy pavement. He grabbed his flashlight, its beam cutting a path through the swirling snow towards the source of the sound, a cluster of overflowing dumpsters behind an abandoned warehouse. His heart hammered against his ribs as he approached, the cries growing louder, more desperate. His breath hitched in his throat as he pushed aside a sodden cardboard box and saw it, a tiny bundle, barely visible amidst the filth and trash. What he saw next made his blood run cold, then surge with a protectiveness so fierce it took his breath away. Curled against the bitter cold, discarded like refuse, was a newborn baby. His mind reeled. Who could do this? How could a human being be so devoid of compassion? In that moment, surrounded by the harsh realities of the world he patrolled, James realized something profound. This wasn't just another police call, it was a revelation. He wasn't just saving a life, he was discovering his own purpose. Sometimes, the most profound changes in our lives come from unexpected encounters in the darkest of places. And as he carefully, tenderly scooped the fragile infant into his robust arms, he knew his life would never be the same. The cold night air still bit, but a new unyielding warmth had just ignited within him, a warmth that would guide his next, incredibly difficult choice. In the moment Officer James Thompson cradled the tiny infant in his arms, something primal shifted inside him. The baby, a fragile girl with eyes wide with silent wonder, instantly calmed, her whimpers fading into soft coos. He felt an undeniable, overwhelming connection, a love he hadn't known existed. He decided right then and there to name her Serenity, a name that whispered of peace found in chaos. As he held her close, a fierce protective instinct roared to life. His first gut-wrenching thought was clear. I have to adopt her. I have to be her father. But James was a man of logic and duty even in the face of such profound emotion. The reality of his life as a single police officer in Detroit hit him hard. His hours were unpredictable, his work often dangerous, and his apartment, while comfortable for one, was hardly the ideal environment for a newborn. He pictured the long nights, the constant demands, the absence of a mother figure. It was a common pitfall, this hero complex where you feel you must do everything yourself. He desperately wanted to be Serenity's father, to raise her, to protect her, but he knew, deep down, that his desire, however pure, might not be what was truly best for her. This was the true test of his love, letting go of what he wanted for himself and focusing on what Serenity needed most. He spent sleepless nights wrestling with the decision, comparing his own longing with the ideal of a stable, two-parent home, a nurturing environment that could provide everything he as a single officer might struggle to offer. This wasn't about him, it was solely about her future. It was about giving Serenity the best possible chance at a life filled with unconditional love, consistency, and two parents dedicated solely to her growth. This sacrifice, choosing her ultimate well-being over his immediate emotional fulfillment, was perhaps the purest act of fatherly love he could offer. So, with a heavy heart but a clear mind, James worked tirelessly with social services. He navigated the complex adoption process, ensuring every detail was handled with care, determined to find the perfect home for his little Serenity. And then he found them, the Davises, a warm, loving black couple from Atlanta who had yearned for a child for years. They were everything he envisioned for Serenity, kind, stable, and overflowing with a quiet joy that promised a lifetime of devotion. The day he said goodbye was a bittersweet agony, a silent promise whispered to the tiny girl in his arms, "You'll have the best, my little one. I'll always be with you, in spirit." As he watched them drive away, a pang of loss shot through him, but it was quickly overshadowed by a profound sense of hope. True love, he realized, often means letting go and making sacrifices for someone else's ultimate well-being. He had given Serenity a new beginning, a chance at a full, beautiful life. Little did he know, that act of profound selflessness was just the first thread in a tapestry that fate was already weaving, a tapestry that would, decades later, bring them crashing back together in the most unexpected way. 25 years melted away like snow in the summer sun, but the memory of little Serenity remained, a quiet, cherished part of Captain James Thompson. He was no longer just an officer, he was a legend in Detroit's police department, a pillar of the community, his uniform adorned with countless commendations. His integrity was unwavering, his dedication absolute. The experience of finding that baby, of making that selfless choice, had subtly shaped him, making him more empathetic to the vulnerable, more determined to protect the innocent. He knew the depths of human cruelty, but he also believed fiercely in the enduring power of hope and redemption. One chilly autumn night, while on a routine patrol through a particularly desolate stretch of the city, James's sharp eyes caught something out of place. A lone gas station, usually bustling even at odd hours, was eerily quiet. A cold knot formed in his stomach. He pulled up discreetly, killed his lights, and watched. Inside, two hooded figures had the young cashier cornered, their movements aggressive, menacing. An armed robbery. James's training kicked in, his mind racing through scenarios. This wasn't just a job, it was a desperate situation, lives on the line. He moved fast, announcing his presence, gun drawn, his voice booming into the tense silence. "Police! Drop your weapons! Hands where I can see them!" The criminals responded with a burst of gunfire, a chaotic symphony of violence. James returned fire, but one of the bullets found its mark, searing through his abdomen. He crumpled, the world spinning, a white-hot pain exploding behind his eyes. As he hit the ground, the last thing he registered was the frantic scramble of the robbers fleeing into the darkness. Just when he thought he was alone, fading fast, a shadow moved. It wasn't another cop. It was a figure emerging from the gloom, a civilian, courageous and quick-thinking, who rushed to his side, yelling for help, pulling him toward safety. The ride to the hospital was a blur of searing pain and fading consciousness. He vaguely heard sirens, frantic voices, the squeal of tires. They rushed him into the emergency room in Atlanta, a city far from his usual beat. A renowned surgeon, a true medical luminary, was called in for his complex case. James felt the prick of needles, the distant murmur of medical jargon, then nothing. His life hung by the thinnest of threads, and as the darkness enveloped him, he had no idea that the person fighting so fiercely to save him was inextricably linked to the very act that had defined his life a quarter-century ago. Even the strongest among us can be vulnerable, and help can truly come from the most unexpected places, often carrying a destiny we can't yet comprehend. James's recovery was slow, grueling, but steady. Yet, despite the steady progress, one thought consumed him. He had to thank the surgeon who'd saved his life. He kept asking, his voice a gravelly whisper, about the doctor. The nurses, kind but firm, told him she was Dr. Anya Davis, a medical marvel, renowned across the country. She was constantly in demand, flying from one high-stakes surgery to the next, a nearly mythical figure in the medical community. His repeated requests to meet her were met with polite but firm refusals. Her schedule, they said, was simply impossible. James felt a pang of frustration. It was a common pitfall, this feeling of entitlement, wanting to demand something from someone who'd already given so much. But it wasn't about demanding, it was about expressing a profound, life-altering gratitude. What James didn't know was that Dr. Davis's relentless dedication to saving lives was no accident. It was a direct consequence of her own past, a driving force that had shaped her into the extraordinary healer she was. One afternoon, a kind nurse, who'd grown fond of James and his persistent pleas, leaned in conspiratorially. "Captain," she whispered, "Dr. Davis is special. She's a black woman, a pioneer in trauma surgery, and she often dedicates her time to working in under-resourced communities. A flicker of recognition, a distant echo, sparked in James's mind. This detail, her race, her dedication to the vulnerable, resonated with something deep within him. The nurse, perhaps sensing his profound connection, couldn't resist. She let slip, her eyes sparkling. "She's actually scheduled to visit you the day before your discharge. She wanted to surprise you." James's heart soared. Finally, the pieces were aligning. But fate, it seemed, had one more twist in store. Just hours before her scheduled visit, an urgent life-or-death call came in. Another complex trauma, hundreds of miles away. V. Davis, true to her calling, left immediately. James was crushed, a profound sense of disappointment washing over him. He felt the familiar sting of unmet expectations, the frustration of a promise broken, even if it was for the noblest of reasons. He couldn't sleep that night, a cocktail of pain and disappointment churning inside him. But before drifting off, a faint memory surfaced. Her eyes, so striking, and a gentle, almost familiar smile from a blurry photograph. He dismissed it as the lingering effects of pain medication, a trick of the mind. But the seed of recognition had been planted, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor in the vast landscape of his memory. Fate, it seemed, often has its own timing, and sometimes the answers we seek are closer than we realize, hidden in plain sight until the perfect moment for their grand reveal. A week later, back in his quiet home in Detroit, James was going through the motions of recovery. The physical pain was lessening, but the ache of not having met the mysterious Dr. Davis lingered. He was doing his physical therapy exercises, lost in thought, when his doorbell chimed, a bright, insistent sound that cut through the afternoon quiet. He hobbled to the door, a flicker of irritation, then curiosity in his eyes. He opened it, and there she stood. Radiant, poised, wearing a crisp white lab coat with a stethoscope draped around her neck, was Dr. Anya Davis. Time seemed to stretch, then snap back into focus. James knew her. Not from her reputation, not from a fleeting hospital glimpse, but from somewhere deeper, a place in his heart he hadn't known existed. He let her in, the familiar scent of antiseptic and something subtly floral filling his living room. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, an unspoken recognition hanging in the air. "Dear Doctor," James began, his voice raspy with emotion, "I want to thank you. Because of you, I'm still alive. I don't know how I can ever repay you." Anya smiled, a gentle, knowing curve of her lips that sent a shiver down James's spine. "Captain Thompson," she replied, her voice soft but clear, "I too want to thank you. And I want to congratulate you for the difficult work you do helping the vulnerable. Allow me to open my heart and tell you that I am alive today, thanks to an agent of the law, a black man just like you, who rescued a tiny baby from the garbage where she lay abandoned during a cold winter night." Anya's words were a lightning bolt, a sudden, blinding flash that illuminated 25 years of memory. "Remember?" James felt the blood drain from his face, then rush back with a roaring intensity. He stared at her, his vision blurring with sudden tears, and in her eyes he saw it. The same innocent wonder, the same quiet strength he remembered from that freezing night. And then, she gave him that smile, the tender, peaceful one that had calmed a newborn in his arms. The one that had stayed with him for a quarter-century. He recognized it. And as his own face broke into a trembling smile, he saw the same recognition flood her features. Without a word, just a flood of tears and overwhelming emotion, they embraced. It was a hug that spanned decades, a father and daughter reunited by a twist of fate only the universe could orchestrate. They talked for hours, sharing the journeys of their lives. Anya spoke of the loving Davises, the wonderful parents who had raised her in Atlanta, instilling in her the very values that led her to become a healer. And then, another incredible revelation. Her biological mother, having battled a severe addiction for years, had finally sought redemption. After years of intense therapy and a renewed will to live, she had found Anya, confessing her past, seeking forgiveness, and, crucially, telling her the story of the brave officer who had saved her baby girl. It was her mother who had urged Anya to find him, to close the circle of gratitude. One act of kindness, a single moment of profound compassion on a desolate Detroit night, had echoed through generations, changing lives and fulfilling destinies in ways James could never have foreseen. He wasn't just a hero in uniform, he was a father, a life-giver in the truest sense. As the evening drew to a close, James looked at Anya, his heart overflowing. This wasn't just a story about a rescue, it was a testament to the enduring power of human connection, the unforeseen paths of fate, and the profound truth that true heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they're the quiet, selfless ones who just show up when you need them most, leaving an indelible mark that brings life full circle. Their story is a powerful testament to the unbreakable spirit of our people, a reminder that resilience isn't just about surviving hardship, it's about transforming it into purpose, into hope, into unwavering love. It teaches us that even when life throws us into the deepest shadows, the light we carry and the connections we forge can guide us to the most extraordinary destinations. If this story ignited something in your soul, if it reminded you of the incredible power within our community, then please, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of triumph, resilience, and unwavering spirit. We're building a community here and your voice matters. There's no more thanks for watching. Please like and share the video, and social networks will be right back to you as fast as we can.